Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'd like to start off by quickly thanking those of you that have supported me by subscribing to the channel. Your backing really means a lot to me and pushes me to put in the work to produce videos that you would enjoy. Thank you. Today's topic of discussion is the organization known as BRICS and its attempt at introducing a new reserve currency called R5 or R5 that would be a counterweight to the dollar. For those of you that don't know, BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The term BRIC was initially coined by Jim O'Neill from Goldman Sachs in 2001, and later in 2010 South Africa joined and added the S. BRICS became an actual organization at the 61st session of the United Nations General Assembly in September of 2006 and had its first summit on the 16th of June 2009 in Yekaterinburg, Russia. Its headquarters are in Shanghai, China. The reason that this bloc is so important and needs to be taken seriously is because of its massive size. These countries occupy an area of over 15.3 million square miles or 39.7 million square kilometers and have a combined population of 3.21 billion people. That's about 27% of the world's land surface area and a staggering 41.5% of its population. But why is this such a hot topic of discussion in the gold and silver community, you may ask? Well, there are numerous rumors and reports that this new currency will have some sort of backing in gold. This, of course, has been picked up and ran with by this community and whipped up into a frenzy to the point where if you type in Google the words BRICS currency, the first search suggestion is how to buy. I'm going to have to dash their dreams a little bit. First of all, this will not be a currency like the dollar, the euro, the ruble, the yen, or the yuan, and so on. This will very likely be a currency that is similar to the IMF's SDR or special drawing rights. The SDR's value is based on a basket of 5 currencies, namely the dollar, the euro, the Chinese renminbi, the British pound, and the Japanese yen. In the same way, the new R5 or R5 will be a basket of the 5 currencies of the BRICS member states: the Russian ruble, the Chinese renminbi, the Brazilian real, the Indian rupee, and the South African rand. Hence the name R5, since all these currencies start with the letter R. So this isn't a currency that the people will be using in regular day-to-day life, but a means for settling international transactions between macroeconomic entities like states and state-owned enterprises. So far, there is no concrete proof that this new reserve will indeed be backed by gold, but there are some statements and anecdotal evidence that this might be the case. One of the more official statements is that of the first deputy chairman of Russia's central bank, Sergei Shvetsov, who stated, "The traditional trade system based in London and partially in Swiss cities is becoming less relevant as new trade hubs are emerging, first of all in India, China, and South Africa. We are discussing the possibility to establish a single system of gold trade, both within BRICS and at the level of bilateral contacts." Other hints come in the form of increased gold purchases by the central banks of China, Russia, and India. Also, coincidence or not, if we check the data on the world's largest gold producers, we'll find that all of the BRICS except for India are on there. And if we'll check the map of the candidate states vying for BRICS membership, we'll find Kazakhstan and Indonesia on there as well. Coincidence? Maybe. Or was this the plan all along? Was this Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin trying to dominate global gold resources and end the reign of the US dollar? Let's face it, the only commodities that everyone on this planet can agree to take as payment are precious metals, and especially gold. Why was South Africa, of all nations, invited to this club? When looking at the list of BRICS countries, it's kind of the odd man out. It's not really as big of a potential economic powerhouse as the other countries on this list. Is it perhaps because it's the 8th largest producer of gold in the world? And even more importantly, has the 3rd largest gold reserves in the world still in the ground. If we have a look at the map, we can see the BRICS and candidate countries become even more important when it comes to future gold production. If we have a look at the burn rate below, we'll see that Brazil and South Africa will be the last two places where economically recoverable gold will be mined in the future, with BRICS hopeful Indonesia in the third place. On the other hand, it shows us just how aggressively China is going after its gold, that in only 6 years its resources will be exhausted. Is this all coincidence, or a conspiracy theory, or is it the old saying that the East plays chess while the West plays checkers? Could this be a plan conceived in the early 2000s already? It could be, we don't know yet. The war in Ukraine and subsequent freeze that was placed on Russian foreign reserves held in Western currencies set a dangerous precedent, regardless of the ethics behind it. It sent a clear message to everyone on Washington's naughty list that their assets were not safe, and China got the message loud and clear. Look at its table of major foreign holders of treasury securities. China has been accelerating its de-dollarization, and where is the money from this fire sale going to? Into gold. With the weaponization of the dollar, every regime that does not align itself with the foreign policy set by Washington will start to do the same. There are a lot of people waiting and praying for the demise of the dollar and in general of the West, so this idea has many people in the developing world very excited. You should never underestimate how much resentment there is in many places on this planet towards the collective West, its prosperity, and how it was achieved at what many believe is the expense of the rest of the world. I'm not going to go into that discussion, but my point is, there are a lot of people backing the idea of an alternative to the US dollar mainly, and the euro, pound and Swiss franc secondly. Unfortunately for them, I'm about to pour a little cold water on their dreams. The BRICS nations are far from being a monolithic entity, and some of them are outright adversaries or rivals. Let's not forget that China has lost quite a bit of its territory to Russia in the Far East, and there have been lingering tensions between them ever since, culminating in a 7-month-long military confrontation along the Amur River in 1969. China and Russia is a marriage of convenience more than anything, and the two countries both see each other as natural leaders and thus will never have a close relationship as the US has with the United Kingdom or Japan, for example, where those partners recognize, even though not publicly, that the tune is set in Washington, and for demographic, economic or military reasons, they are not in a position to challenge the leader of their alliance. This mechanic does not exist between Russia and China, even though, through its humiliating campaign in Ukraine, Russia has lost a lot of its clout and is more than ever dependent on China. Then we have the relationship between the two countries touted as the next superpowers, China and India. These enormous countries see each other as rivals, if not outright enemies. The latest in a long line of border disputes took place just a while back, with Indian and Chinese soldiers clubbing each other to death on the high plateaus of the Himalayas. I won't play the video here, not to get a copyright strike, but I'll have the link down below in the description. What will these two agree on? Not much. Then we have Brazil, that's a world away, and South Africa, that's 2 steps away from being a failed state. On top of that, we have the problem of how this basket of currencies is calculated. By most accounts, this will be based on the nominal GDP of each nation. Let me show you what that looks like. Can you spot the problem? China accounts for over 70% of the combined GDP of all the BRICS nations, so the R5 would basically be just a glorified Chinese currency. I don't think either India or Russia will be too pleased with this idea. With such discrepancies within the BRICS organization, saying that the R5 is a basket of Chinese and South African currencies is like saying that Jeff Bezos and I have a combined net worth of over $100 billion. So while the gold-backed R5 is still a long way away from displacing the dollar in my opinion, we precious metal investors still have reasons to be bullish on the yellow metal. It's likely that gold accumulation by various central banks around the world will continue at an accelerated pace in the absence of any other viable alternative to the dollar, and therefore offer substantial support to the price of gold in the future. These are my thoughts on the matter of the highly hyped BRICS currency and how I believe it will affect the gold market in particular. If you liked this video and found any value in it, I would appreciate your support by liking and subscribing to the channel. All links to the featured articles are in the description below. And until next time, I wish you happy stacking.